guest this evening was Cathy Gale in The Avengers. She was later Pussy Galore in Goldfinger. Now she's rehearsing the part of Baroness Schrader in The Sound of Music. Ladies and gentlemen, she's with us tonight, Honor Blackman. I always feel as though I'm going to sink right topple over backwards on these chairs. I hope this turns out not to be as traumatic an interview as the one you did when you were in Birmingham and you arrived with that whacking great ring. That was, you were promoting Goldfinger. You had about 57 security agents with you, I remember.
That's right. It wasn't a ring. In fact, it was a gold finger that they made.
Yes, just let me explain. It wasn't Pebble Mill either. It was somewhere else.
Yes.
Which shall be nameless.
It shall be nameless, yes. It was the television studio. And I was doing a promotion tour for Goldfinger, which meant that I hurtled in and out of radio stations and television studios. And I had these two security men behind me and this Goldfinger sticking out there that was worth I don't know how much. And I flew into this studio literally about 3 or 4 minutes before I was due to go on. And there was a very young interviewer there, not an experienced chap like you. And, he said, what would you like to talk about, you know? And I quite easily said, you know, anything's all right, anything. And so they said, we're going to start on the Goldfinger and then camera draw back and so on. And you know how that...
Well, you were just sitting there with one finger...
Well, I had a few other things about me, yes, not just the Goldfinger. And... anyway, you know the countdown that happens, which unnerves everybody before the show begins. And they started 10, 9, 8, you see. And this young interviewer sat there, and I can't say what he was saying, the language he was using. But as every number came up, there was a worse obscenity. And I sat there getting more and more nervous, you know. We finally got down to 1, and the camera was on the finger and drew back, and he said, Miss Blackman, welcome, And then he obviously dried, stone dead, and didn't know what to say. And he said, tell me, Miss Blackman, what is it like being half male, half female? At which point I absolutely broke up. And I had a dress that was cut down almost to my waist. So I leaned forward and I said, which heart had you in mind? And then I was finished. I couldn't say anything else.
Now, I'll talk about the Cathy Gale and the Goldfinger bit in a wee while, but your first film was Fame as the Spur, and that was made quite a while ago with Sir Michael Redgrave.
Yes.
And it must have taken you a long time to learn your lines, because, in fact, you actually said nout.
Nout.
But I do remember you being in it, because you were in, and this seems sadly apt tonight, in fact, you were in the riot scene. It was a street riot.
Yes,
and,
it was the Peterloo Massacre, yes.
Indeed. And it was nearly your last film.
Yes, my first and practically my last, because I was marching with my boyfriend because we had no jobs, we had no food. It was, you know, one of those situations. And one of the dragoons had to run me through with his sabre. And when
the point was that let me just explain this, the dragoons charged the crowd.
That's right, the dragoons charged the crowd. And naturally I was in the front because my fellow was a very brave fella. And anyway, the dragoon galloped forward and brought his sabre forth, and I went down. But as I fell on the ground, the horse reared, went over, the rider broke his leg, the camera operator broke something, the camera was broken, the poor horse was broken. Everybody went to hospital, except the horse. I mean, I don't imagine he went to hospital, but he went somewhere or so. And so we had to pack it in that day. It wasn't really a very good day. So then we started again about a week later, I think it was, and we did it all again, and the sabre came, you see, and I went down like this, and I had this long golden wig on, and as the horse reared up, and they took the shot under the horse's belly of me falling down, the horse's hooves came down, dong, like that, and he was on my hair. I mean, he was so near my ears. I thought my heart would stop, but I was going to be a great actress, you see. So I lay there absolutely dead, and the silence was frightening, and I wasn't used to filming, and the silence went on. Cut, you see, John Bolting said, and the silence was awful. And then footsteps came on. Honor, you know. And because he thought I was dead, thought the horse's hooves had gone straight through my head. but they hadn't. So I lived to fight another day, and I lived to meet an awful lot of horses after that who did terrible things into my tambourine and everything. Oh, it was awful. What horses do to me is awful.
You've got to think about horses.
Yes, I have.
But you also played a succession of English roles for quite a while.
I did.
So would it be fair to say that when they cast you as Cathy Gale in The Avengers, they were taking a bit of a chance there?
Yes, they were,
It was something quite different from anything you've done before.
Yes, I suppose they were.
Were you surprised at the way Cathy Gale caught the imagination of people in the country?
Yes, of course. It was astonishing. I mean, really, she was a first. That show was a first in lots of ways. She was the first sort of real feminist that ever came into a television serial. She was the first woman to fight at all, and it's been done quite a lot since.
And to look convincing when she was fighting. I mean, that was the important thing.
Yes, well, I mean, one really had to do it, and it was pretty convincing on the cement, I want to tell you. My spine has stories to tell. And the leather thing was extraordinary because it happened that I split my trousers in close-up with my backside to the camera right at the beginning of the series. And
that's why it was so popular.
Well, that's why we had to find some tougher gear. And somebody suggested suede, and it doesn't light, so somebody suggested leather, and we said, okay, you know, good idea. So I wore leather, and the only thing you could put at the end of leather sort of was boots. Nothing else belonged. And then we came out in September. This was all shot in March, April, May, that sort of thing. And it came out in September. And just about then, Paris Fashions either had heard about us or came out with leather. And the whole market was tremendous in leather, and everybody was wearing it except me, because everybody wanted.
You wouldn't wear it off the screen.
Well, no, because I was called out for fights all the time. It was awful. You think so tough. You know, all this went on.
But you published a book, didn't you? I mean,
yes.
On a Blackman's.
Yes.
I don't know what they call it, but it was self-defense
yes.
for ladies.
Yes.
I mean, was that just because some enterprising publisher got a gleam in his eye and thought, aha, if I get her name on the book, it'll sell like hot cakes? Yeah. Or do you really go in for this sort of necklocks and?
Well, I think it's a very good idea. I mean, certainly he was an enterprising publisher, we can't deny that. But, yes, I think it's a marvellous form of self-defense. And it isn't offensive, it is defensive. It isn't a spectacular sort of sport, but it's a very good idea to know it these days, I would say.
So the point is that you do.
Yes, I hope I'm not. I've always been praying that I'm never attacked in the street and left bleeding, because my reputation will go straight down the drain. But, yes, I think it's a very good idea. I hope I can remember it. I have to admit that I'm not as fast as I used to be, because I don't practice anymore, because lots of things have been happening in my life, but I was so fast then. I mean, I knew that vase was going to fall off the shelf before it did, you know, and I was there ready. It was amazing.
I mean, there's clearly an element of Cathy Gale in your own makeup, because I know you got rid of the machine now, but you used to hurtle around the highways and byways on, of all things, a motorcycle. Now, I just cannot imagine you on a motorcycle.
Can't you?
I mean, what was the attraction there? What?
Speed, sitting on that engine. I just love it. I just love it.
Well, why did you get rid of it?
Well, I have to admit that it fell over on me quite a few times, and I did such damage to my legs. And I think the other great reason, really, is that I used to go places on it, and you really can't arrive looking like what might be laughingly called a glamorous actress.
What you meant? You went to elegant parties and things.
Well, and some parties, yes, I did.
Well,
and when you take off your crash helmet, you know, and you've got your great boots on, and it's been raining, and you look like the wrath of God. Yeah. So even going to rehearsal, you know, directors aren't awfully thrilled to see you when you arrive looking like that when they hired you when you were, you know, they thought they knew what you looked like.